This video is presented by Faith Gateway. Faith Gateway is an online store for Christian content. In the description of this video and as its pinned comment, there is a special link from me, Ryan Holman, to get 30% off of Faith Gateway's selection of Bernstein Bears books. One of the most significant NASCAR rivalries was Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt Sr. In the 1980s, they combined to win 5 Cup Series championships and 94 races. In the 1990s, this rivalry had simmered down. This would culminate in Earnhardt hiring Waltrip to drive for his NASCAR team. In 1991, Waltrip returned to driving for his own Darrell Waltrip Motorsports team, after having originally done so from 1972 to 1975. In his first 2 seasons back to being an owner-driver, Waltrip won 5 races. However, this success did not last. Waltrip failed to win a race after 1992 and failed to finish in the top 10 in the championship following the 1994 season. At Charlotte in 1997, Waltrip failed to qualify for his first Cup Series race since Talladega in 1974. In 1998, Earnhardt started to have his team, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, compete full-time in the Cup Series after having already won the Sportsman Series and Truck Series since 1984 and competed part-time in the Cup Series since 1996. Steve Park drove for the Earnhardt team. Unfortunately, Park started his season very poorly. At the Daytona 500, he retired with ignition problems and finished 41st. Park followed this by crashing at Rockingham with 374 of 393 laps completed, finishing 31st, and failing to qualify at Las Vegas. Park's season got even worse at the 4th event, Atlanta. There, during practice, Park had a tire failure in turn 4, hit the outer wall at a high speed twice, and then crashed into the pit lane wall. Park had multiple fractures and he was not medically cleared to race. Bill Parsons was the original replacement at Atlanta, but he failed to qualify. Ron Horday Jr., Earnhardt's Truck Series driver, then replaced Park at Darlington. However, he too failed to make the race. Meanwhile, the Waltrip team's situation got even worse. Prior to the 1998 season, Waltrip got sponsorship from concrete company Speedblock. However, the company did not pay Waltrip the money they owed him. At Darlington, Waltrip competed without sponsorship. Through the first 5 races, he and his team had failed to finish better than 30th at the most recent race and was 40th in the standings. At this point, Waltrip was hired to be Park's permanent replacement. Bristol was his first race as Earnhardt's driver. Waltrip's qualifying speed was not good enough to get him into the field, so he used a provisional to qualify. By lap 100 of 500, Waltrip had only moved up to 35th. On lap 104, Steve Grissom and Dick Trickle made contact, causing the former to crash. In reaction, Waltrip made contact with Bobby Labonte. During the ensuing caution period, most drivers made pit stops. Waltrip did not, and he was now 5th. Soon after the restart on lap 110, drivers who stopped got around Waltrip. Ultimately, Waltrip finished his debut race with Earnhardt in 23rd place, 4 laps down. This was the first time that Earnhardt's entry had finished a race in 1998. For Texas, Waltrip successfully qualified Earnhardt's car via his speed, albeit in 36th place. Unfortunately, both Earnhardt and Waltrip were involved in a large crash towards the start of the second lap. Waltrip got his car back to the garage area and his team made enough repairs for the car to return to the race by lap 68. Waltrip was actually penalized for going too quickly through the pit area as he re-entered the race. Ultimately, Waltrip retired due to transmission issues with 185 of 334 laps completed. At Martinsville, Waltrip qualified in the 14th starting position. On the 4th lap, Jeff Burton lost control while running next to Waltrip, causing the two to make contact and crash. Waltrip's car stalled next to the wall. After extensive repairs were made to Waltrip's car, he returned to the race. With 213 laps remaining, Waltrip touched Mark Martin as he was lapped by Martin. Citing handling issues, Waltrip and his team ended their race afterwards, with 278 of 500 laps completed in 40th place. Talladega would be Waltrip's best race for Earnhardt so far. After qualifying 24th, Waltrip was not a factor in the race. However, this also meant that he got his first top 20 finish for Earnhardt, by being 1 lap down in 15th finishing position. For Fontana, Waltrip started in 11th place. On the second lap, he was running 3 wide with Bill Elliott and Morgan Shepherd. On lap 6, Waltrip was in 9th. 10 laps later, he was battling with Labonte and Burton. On lap 32, Waltrip was past Labonte. However, Labonte and Burton continued to be close to Waltrip. With 73 laps remaining, Waltrip was back to battling for 10th position. This time, he was doing it with Jimmy Spencer,
Late in the race, Waltrip increased his position. With 10 laps to go, he was running 5th. This is where Waltrip finished, and he had his first top 10 finish for Earnhardt. At the All-Star race, which Waltrip was eligible for by winning it in 1985, he qualified in 9th place of 20 drivers. However, Waltrip dropped from the top 10 by lap 2. The next lap, Waltrip and Ernie Irvan touched, causing Irvan to crash.
6 laps later, Waltrip was sent to the garage area. He retired with an engine failure and finished 17th.
For the World 600, Waltrip started 43rd and last as a provisional starter. On lap 153 of 400, Waltrip was in 20th place and leader Mark Martin was close to lapping him. By lap 165, Martin had gone past Waltrip. As lap 166 started, Waltrip unlapped himself. Afterwards, he improved his position to 15th. As Waltrip battled Martin to stay on the lead lap, he increased his running place to 9th. When Waltrip pitted on lap 175, he was in 6th. On lap 347, Waltrip was in 12th place. Eventually, he finished the 617th place, 1 lap down. Waltrip had his second consecutive provisional qualification at Dover, so he started 43rd again. By lap 89, he improved to 32nd position and had been lapped. Waltrip continued to struggle in the event and finished 4 laps behind winner Dale Jarrett in 20th. For Richmond, Waltrip had his 3rd straight provisional start. This time he was in 42nd. By lap 96, Waltrip was 4 laps down. He later lost another lap and finished 32nd. At the following race, Michigan, Waltrip recovered from his Richmond performance to start 12th. On lap 89, he was battling with Joe Nemechek for 10th. On lap 118, debris got onto the track and the race had a caution period. Waltrip would use this moment to get past leader Jeff Gordon to get back onto the lead lap. 33 laps later, Waltrip was running in 12th. He then waited longer than other drivers to make his final pit stop and led laps 180 and 181 before getting passed by Gordon and Martin, then making his final pit stop. Waltrip finished the race in 12th place. At Pocono, Waltrip qualified in 18th place. By lap 108 of 200, he was battling with Earnhardt and Bill Elliott for 10th place. 15 laps later, Waltrip gained the lead after Burton pitted, but he then pitted himself, giving the lead to Wally Dallenbach Jr. After returning to the track, Waltrip was running in 10th place on lap 139. With 40 laps remaining, Waltrip was now in 3rd position, although Jeremy Mayfield was challenging him for it and then got past him. However, when 2nd place Kyle Petty had a mechanical issue and went to his pit stall, Waltrip went back to being 3rd. Following this, Martin, Gordon, and Burton got past him. Moments later, Ward Burton also got around Waltrip. On lap 168, Jerry Nadeau lost a wheel and his car started to drag on the track. As a result, the race had its 9th caution period. During the following pit stops, Waltrip only had fuel put in his car, moving him from 6th to 1st on lap 170, as his competitors also got new tires. The race restarted on lap 173. The following lap, Gordon came close to Waltrip, but the gap between the two increased when Mayfield started to battle with Gordon. Then, Chad Little crashed and Waltrip led Mayfield and Gordon back to the timing line to start the caution time. On lap 179, the race restarted and Waltrip had a slight gap between him and Mayfield. As the next lap started, Mayfield got past Waltrip for the lead. With 18 laps remaining, Gordon got past Waltrip for 2nd. Following this, Jarrett and Jeff Burton got around Waltrip with 12 laps remaining in the race. Waltrip finished the race in 6th place. After Pocono, Sonoma was somewhat disappointing. He started 13th and got the lead during a pit stop sequence on lap 38. Waltrip eventually pitted himself and was in 8th place by lap 58, but was 9th on the 67th lap. However, Waltrip dropped back from there and finished 13th. For New Hampshire, Waltrip had his first top 10 start of the season by starting 8th. On lap 9, he was battling with Johnny Andretti for 9th. Then, on lap 47, Waltrip was in a 4-driver battle for 11th place, with Martin, Earnhardt, and Ken Schrader. Initially, Martin got past Waltrip. Earnhardt then bumped the car he owned multiple times. Soon afterwards, Earnhardt and Schrader passed Waltrip. Following this, Labonte and Rick Mast were challenging Waltrip. On lap 90, Waltrip made a standard pit stop. With 176 laps remaining, Waltrip was running 10th and in a multi-driver battle for 7th. A little past the halfway point, Waltrip ran in the 13th position. Then, Earnhardt had a slight lead over Waltrip, Terry Labonte, and Kenny Wallace. Exiting turn 4, Waltrip attempted to pass Earnhardt as they both went by Mast. In turn 3 of the following lap, Waltrip successfully passed his boss. Soon afterwards, Waltrip made a pit stop. With 61 laps remaining, Labonte and Waltrip were closely battling for 16th. A little bit later, Bobby Hamilton Sr. had gotten past Waltrip, who went back to being 16th. Waltrip finished the race in 13th, the last driver on the lead lap. Second race at Pocono was Waltrip's final race with Earnhardt. Waltrip started it from 27th place. Around lap 80, he made a 3-wide pass on Jeff Bodine and Kenny Irwin Jr. Then, on the 94th lap, Waltrip was running directly behind younger brother Michael. They were 16th and 17th, respectively. On lap 134, Waltrip attempted to get around Elliott for 22nd. That same lap, Earnhardt got past Waltrip. At the finish, Waltrip was running 13th. After Waltrip stopped driving for his own team to start driving for Earnhardt, he sold his team to airplane dealer Tim Beverly, who also purchased the ISM racing team. Beverly merged the teams together to form Teller Jet Motorsports. Waltrip started to drive for them at the Brickyard 400, the first race after Pocono. Unfortunately, Waltrip struggled with what had been his team. He started last in 14 of the remaining 16 races and had just 2 top 20 finishes with them. During a time when Waltrip was struggling in the Cup Series, he got a good opportunity with the Earnhardt team and showed that he was still competitive. Waltrip continued to compete in the Cup Series through 2000, but he never finished in the top 10 in a race again. This video is presented by Faith Gateway. Faith Gateway is an online store for Christian content. In the description of this video and as its pinned comment, there is a special link from me, Ryan Holman, to get 30% off of Faith Gateway's selection of Bernstein Bears books.